Here are 10 profitable AI offers you can sell to other businesses or use within your own company. We'll talk about the offer details, an example of the company you can apply to, the service information, as well as the pitch deck sentence that you would present to your potential prospect. We'll also talk about technical setup on how you would actually go about building it. The first one is the renewal agent. Reminds customers before their contract ends and resolve issues to secure one-time renewals. Here's the company that we got for this specific example. There are so many businesses that you can apply to. The Spark is the downtown co-working hub offering private offices and shared desks for entrepreneurs and creators. As you can imagine, when it comes to renting physical spaces, it's very important to keep the book full, because usually people renting it not for multiple years, rather multiple months. What we can do, we can set up the agent that 30 days out it will surface the desk usage stats, recommend the optimal plan, so mailbox to workstation, so accounts that are flagged with a high churn rate, so let's say the desk usage less than 20%, receive targeted incentives, improving retention curves. Now, the thing is that most of the co-working space companies are using their own software to manage everything. Depending on how advanced the software is and how tech savvy the company is in general, they might have a pretty good analytics. But the analytics is static, and usually most companies don't do anything with that. Again, depending on the setup of their technical software, you can do different triggers. In a very simplified way, technically, every period you can export a usage of the spaces. You can set AI to simply analyze this usage and output a certain companies that would have a highest churn rate possibility, right? Now, it's very easy to set up. This is a pretty straightforward workflow. The hardest part would be to identify how to actually export and trigger the scenario. But once we have it, for each company, you would do a separate, let's say, API request to get the contact details, and then your agent would contact the company saying that, hey John, saw that you utilized 20% of the time that you actually had last month. How about we do X, right? So this is a personalized type of marketing. Most, again, companies do email marketing, they do the updates, they do the stats, they maybe send this information to the client inbox, but it's not personalized. So imagine if an actual person would contact you to make sure that you are a good fit. Now, we can do more agents that we're going to discuss later that you can attach here. Let's say when someone churned, you can contact them and say, hey, John, I see that you probably like our space, but you're not utilizing it on the 100%. So do you want me to provide you the 30-day extension? And for this type of the build, you would just use the n8n and you would set everything on the high level. Again, if you do not want to spend months developing all these things, all of the 10 agents has been already built inside one prompt. First link in the description. But basically, we are utilizing our own version of high level, but you can just get away with a regular one. You can power it up with the n8n agent that will have a conversational logic that will be able to send SMS and go back and forth with the actual person, and inside there you would set up different triggers and different workflows that will communicate with the actual software. Here is the type of the messaging you would use to offer renewal agent to this specific client or to other clients. Most of the businesses that start in the AI space start with a cold outreach. And even if you have some sort of a network, you need to be able to present this solution in a very short, understandable way, because you need to make people interested, even if they know you, even if they trust you, because the AI is such a new thing. And one of the angles that you can use is saying like, tax members their desk usage stats, and tailor plans offer 30-day before renewals, keeping your workspace humming year around. By the way, I don't really love the word humming if you are using this in the cold outreach, because it's pretty complex. This is not what people usually say, but it's a great illustration of the messaging that you can literally use. And usually we set up our outreach campaigns like that. We'll say, hi, X, we have, or we are that, right? So, or do this some sort of personalization, the cold line breaker. So saying that, saw that you are on LinkedIn, trying to post something or find something. Don't never say that things like, yeah, saw that Spark offering co-working space in Kansas City. These are the already pretty generic emails. Even though it's personalized with the AI, most of the companies already use it, so it's not gonna work. Okay, so what you can do, you can say, hey, I was browsing the co-working spaces in Kansas, that's how I found you. So see, it's like the same type of the messaging, but with a different framing. So this would be this, right? So saw that. Now you would do the X offer, which would be this, and then you would say, do you want me to show it to you? That is it. Of course, you would manipulate that a lot of the times, and this offer can be easily personalized with the AI. If you take this and perfect this specific message, then you can use something like Clay to ask your agent to analyze all the company websites of the co-working spaces and then create these things. What I also like to do is to use the messaging and the CTAs that they use on the website to look more sharp. But again, we're gonna discuss this in other examples. The second one is the upsell and cross-sell agent. Watches customer usage and suggest relevant add-ons or higher plan when it makes sense. When it comes to upsells and cross-sells, the first thing that comes to mind, usually, if I tell you, hey, we're building the upsell agent, right? Probably you would think about the e-com, because I come from the e-com background. I still own 2 companies. We're primarily selling on Amazon and Etsy. It's not that relevant, but when it's a direct-to-consumer brand that is selling the website, the upsells is a huge thing. Same thing with the info products, right? When you are potentially selling the lower ticket and then you're upselling the high ticket. But when it comes to the traditional industries, as well as the software, a lot of the software, especially B2B software, are offering the services as well as the software that can be upsold, and that usually companies do not utilize at all. So Evolve HR is pretty big company. It's Chicago-based professional employer organization supplying outsourced HR consulting and tech to growth firms. Now, so here's what we can do. So Evolve's HRPO clients and often starts with the payroll only. So when the clients contact these type of the companies, they're usually starting with the payroll, right? So the agent watches for PTO policy questions in support email. So it's going to be directly connected to the support, to the actual email infrastructure, suggest benefits or risk management add-ons, answer cost calculators in thread, and triggers DocuSign for scope change agreements. Again, so these are the very specific ways that can only apply to a certain amount of companies. But the general idea is that this agent proactively watches all communications. And I would not suggest you to actually start integrating the agent that is replying and talking to the customers right away, especially if you are working with the type of the enterprise like this company is. You would do a separate rerouting. Let's say if you are watching the company inbox, right? So the agent, and you can set it up on the end, watches all the emails, right? And it's processing them. Certain emails will, most of the emails, so 95% of the emails will just be the regular emails, the working emails, right? The 5% will be rerouted to a separate sub-agent that will analyze them and classify based on like certain things. And with this information, you can create another sequences and potentially create draft inside the inboxes of the customer. Again, usually if we're talking like about like the HR, like business specifically, especially like this one, they would not want you to, create the offers right away. The agent will act like a how to say it, like an advisor that will review the whole thing and advise on revenue opportunities. So within this route, you can either, so let's say the actual, the highest route possible or the perfect scenario for the agent when it finds that this is a great fit for another service or product that we have, it would, create a draft and then notify the team members saying, hey, this company is a great fit for X. Here's why. And it's going to be like a report type of the thing. And what is very interesting is that it can be easily delivered to the client, not only in the automated format, but also through the weekly reports. We do the reports to most of our clients every Monday. This is like a routine. Even if we're not actively changing something, even if they can review all the stats themselves within the account in one prompt through the dashboard or through the pipeline, we're still liking to actually keep touching them to potentially, work on more projects. I forgot to mention one very important thing. 3 of these 10 companies are actually our clients. I'm not specifically saying who they are, and I will not mention that because I'm not allowed to share this information. When I'm allowed to share, I do the actual case studies on this YouTube channel that you can watch throughout my different videos. But just letting you know that these are the real things that can be potentially sold. The pitch when you're selling this type of the agent should be very personalized and outcome oriented. You do not have access to their sales data or to their like stats, right? So I don't like referencing and saying things like, hey, we will increase your churn by, 30%, or we will, triple your upsell, or like we will try to upsell your products and make you additional $1 million in there. It's random because you don't have this info. And I like to keep it personal. I like to keep it income oriented, but not in terms of the numbers, if the numbers are not publicly available, especially if you would reach out to the Evolve HR, which is a huge company. So you can say direct line emails about PTO or benefits and instantly invite them to upgrade to the richer POs. Now, that's it. Like, think about this. You are using the slang. I am a big fan of using the slang that the business is using. It means that you understand what you're talking about. And you would say the same thing. Hi, was checking Evolve HR, so I don't really love this. Let's say found you guys on LinkedIn when I was trying to hire, something like that, right? So it's gonna be like a bit fakey because you're not trying to hire. If you are not their potential client, it's gonna be a weird one, but be creative with that, right? So there's like hi, then the line breaker, then this, and then the CTA, okay? Same structure as with this, it's just a different messaging. again, I really love if you can use acronyms or the numbers or sort things that are only relevant to their industry, and you can easily train the agent to go through all the company details and maybe scrape their LinkedIn information, maybe Google if you're trying to work with the enterprise, if you're trying to reach out to the enterprise, their financial data, and reference it within your cold outreach, even though it is not really scalable because usually this info is not available. The third one is the onboarding agent. Guides new customers through the setup in early tasks so that they see value quickly. Now, with the onboarding is very interesting because there are so many startups that are utilizing and that are looking for the personalized onboarding. Okay. When we are selling, and again, so because like I used to have only an agency, and right now the one prompt is our new startup. This is like a software suite, and because partially it is a software, even though it's a white label version of high level, we are actively looking at the things like SUPA Demo, which is the software that allows you to create personalized demos for your products, right? So it would go, through like a tour and like do these guides. It's not something new. I mean, it's relatively new, but more and more software companies are starting to utilize that. This is not what we're trying to build. We're not trying to build another SUPA demo that you probably spend a lot of money building on and testing. And this is not the pitch to build a startup. We're still an agency, and you're still an agency that is trying to scale through the productized offers, right? So here's an example. HealthPay, a mobile platform that lets contractors send quotes, offer financing, and collect digital payments on the go. They are pretty old school, right? So the website is pretty basic. The last, article was published in, 2020. So they rely on the actual, physical touches and the word of mouth. So here's what we can do. After a contractor signs up, the agent's guides EIN entry connects the Stripe backend payout account and walks the user through sending their first digital invoice, all via conversational checklist, reducing first value time from days to minutes. Again, so let's say even if you're like taking the high level in an example, there are a lot of companies and businesses that are like reselling high level as a very niche CRM, and it could be potentially can be potentially used in this case, right, as a CRM. I'm talking about like this here. So let's say you would offer the CRM for, accounting firms, and you would just white label your version of high level. You would add different features. They have the app, and you would sign the accounting firms and say that this is the app, this is the software that is specifically designed for them. And you would set up different automations, workflows inside. Okay. Even that, like picture, because most softwares, and the HealthPay has their own, custom software. So usually the softwares are complex, right? And when we're working with the contractors, usually they're not tech savvy. So it's very hard for them to figure things out. Yeah, sure, the support can be there. And technically, we can integrate the live chat support or receptionist or whatever inside the software, on the website, through the SMS, through the live caller. That's not a problem. And I think this is the possibility. But when you compare the type of the offer that you can sell, right? So you would sell it as, like, let's say if you have this as a prospect, you would sell them the AI support agent, right? So this is one possibility. But another possibility is for you to sell it as the onboarding agent that will make them more money by already working with the customers that are on the platform and help them to use the platform without them needing to actually send a message to the support. Because a lot of the guys are not going to contact support. They're just going to try to figure this out. And if they don't, find the solution, they'll just leave. That's why the churn in these situations is pretty high. What we can do, we can create the onboarding agent that is proactively engaging with the prospect. And like, let's say when the prospect signs up, right, you can say, hey, here is your next step. And if the customer does not complete the first step, next day it's gonna follow up with this prospect depending on the channel. Now, again, it depends on how far you want to go. If you would create an API connection, right, to their software where you can analyze if the customer did a certain action and do the timer based on that, you can easily trigger the init and then have all the storage within the high level, or you don't even need the high level. You can get away with the Supabase, and maybe for the tracking you would use something like the Airtable. But even if you cannot kind of do this type of the personalization, you can store it very simply. So every day it's gonna message them and say, hey, have you completed that? And if the customer did, they say, yeah, sure, but I would have a question, and they would probably ask it right on that. Here's the messaging that we can use for the onboarding agent. Walk new contractors from account setup through first paid invoice in one chat flow, so funds start flowing days sooner. Again, I would actually suggest we have our own agent that is trained to create personalized, messages and angles. So we ran this, and I ran these companies through this agent. Sometimes it's acting a bit weirdly, and that's why we need the refinement. And we're not only using one agent; we're just using it to output some ideas, and then we're recreating a prompt for the Clay's agent that would actually do that. So I don't like this. So it starts floating days sooner. This sounds random, right? But walk new customers from account setup through first paid invoice. What I also did not mention within this specific setups is that you can also utilize the question within the offer. So you'd say, hi, the line breaker, and then you'd say, how do you walk through customers when they're trying to set up an account, or are you doing it manually? Do you have someone that does it? Because this can be automated with an agent that will act like a human, something like that. And do you want me to actually walk you through this agent? And because this is a communication agent, you can also say, hey, by the way, the communication that you're doing right now with us through the email is also automated. So, usually you would do that. So let's say this is the first email, then you get the response, then you would reply something back. If you have a flow with multiple emails, this is this is a hack for you, right? So the tip, you can say that, hey, by the way, I'm there, right? So my name is Eugene. I just saw these messages. By the way, the communication that you did with us, it was all done through AI. I like to do that on the sales call so that they say, wow, okay, I was 100% certain that it was a human. And by the way, it was, okay. But technically you can build the agent for yourself, but because we are pretty okay, so even though we're sending 2,000-3,000 emails per day for our agency, we're pretty good with handling all the replies, so we're doing it manually. But you can technically reference and say that these are not manual to make them say, wow, that because potentially the same type of the cool thing can be built for their own company. The fourth one is the win back agent. Contacts past customers or lost deals with tailored offers designed to bring them back. Now we have a bit of a different offer, which is the database reactivation. This is not that, because this is the win back, because we are working with the customer, with the prospects that have already bought us something. These are not just leads that been interacting with our business. Now, so Little Spoon direct consumer brand sending organic baby and kids meals nationwide by subscription. By the way, that is an awesome business that I first heard probably a year ago, and I was pretty impressed by their branding, their website. They have great socials. So here's what we can do. When a parent pauses or cancels a meal plan, the agent receives the webhook, starts a two-way SMS from the support line to learn the reason why the launcher's meal was stopped, and then you can like reactivate the subscriber based on the information that they provide during the chat. 99.9%, not 0.9, like 90% of the companies that offer subscription and that are doing more than 3 million turnaround a year would have some sort of an email marketing setup. It means that when someone cancels, they will have, the automated sequence. When we're talking about like the CPGs, consumer packaged goods, or the e-com, it's pretty straightforward that all of them use Klaviyo, right? If it's a bit of a different service, you can use MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, or whatever. But this is not that. And this would be on a harder side to present to the client in a way where they understand that this is not an email marketing. This is not just an email that is getting sent. Hey, we saw that you cancel our plan. Here's your 20% coupon code. No, this is an actual human that is contacting them and trying to say that, hey, I'm Eugene, again, depending on the company size, you would say the owner, but if it's the Coca-Cola, it's probably not going to be the owner. But I genuinely want to know why you canceled. We try to improve our experience. So if you can provide us your feedback, please do. I would really appreciate you. If you want, I can give you the call. Something like that. We've been actually using this message. And again, depending on the business, a certain percentage, usually somewhere between 20 to 40%, would reply back with a reason. And on the 100% replies, usually 60 to 80% of these replies can be processed in a way where you can sell more things or restart the subscription, because these are things that are not directly correlated with your product. Or in the example of the little spoon, they have multiple products that might fit different different children. So this is the messaging. Text parents who cancel with age-matched new meals and one-click reactivation, turning paused into active plans. As you already know, I really love when we are using the industry slang, because we know who the customers are. Another hack for you. By the way, please like this video if you like this type of the videos where I give you something that I use myself, okay? When I give you this little insights that can actually make the difference inside your business. For example, like referencing the ICP within your outreach. So picture this. Text your clients who cancel with age matching new meal, or trying to reactivate them. Okay? Picture this offer, texting, or text parents. Same thing. Let's say that this Evolve HR. Let's say that company would work with, or so this would be a better example. So walk new customers from account setup through the first paid invoice, or walk new contractors from the account setup through the paid invoice. These are the same messaging, but using the actual ICP. What we do, we have inside the Clay table, we have a separate table that is actually researching the company and outputting the 2 to 4 words ICP that then we're using in our messaging. If this video will get 222 likes, I will create a separate detailed video on the cold emailing and DMing selling this type of the offers. Okay, 222 likes. This is my way to motivate you guys to make action. Okay, the fifth one is the follow-up agent. Checks in after the first interaction, so active prospects stay engaged until a next step is taken. So as an example, Pig Builders and Roofers in Denver, contractor delivering roofing repair and full home remodeling projects in Denver. Okay, now, so when you look at the website, and you're gonna see more examples like that when I'm gonna reference other solutions and offers. When you're like reaching out, or when the business reaching out to you, there are certain things that you should pay attention to. For example, here you can see that this business, when you're, by the way, like clicking this get appointment, there's like an actual form which is pretty nice and pretty dynamic that goes back and forth for you to trying to qualify what you're doing. So it means that this business care about customer experience, and probably this business have some sort of an influx of leads. So here's what we can do. Quote recipients often go silent after the first estimate. The agent reads quote status, ping the homeowners, and 48 hours interval answer cost material questions, and after calendar link design consult. Huge problem, not only for like hobbyists at this business, but most of the local businesses. Huge problem. They have a lot of the traffic, okay, a lot of the prospects. Now this prospect becomes a lead when they provide an estimate, and this estimate, depending on the business, could be either through an actual form where you specify some details and it gives you the estimate right away. Usually this is, for low cost local businesses, or if it's a higher cost like this, it's going to be, an actual providing the information, and then the agent contacts you. Yeah, sure, like this agent can be automated also with the actual this type of the engagement agent and lead qualification and nurturing agent. We're going to discuss it later. But what we're talking, let's say the customer has been contacted, the business provided the actual, quote, and that's it. So yeah, sure, the human agent usually gets back to the customer, but depending on the business, depending on the influx of the new leads and the quotes that they do on a daily basis, they might even either forget about this if they don't have a proper system like CRM set up, or they are just not doing that. Or if they do it like very standardly, hey, any update for me. So you can really automate this process and help them to convert more leads into the sales. Not prospects into the leads, because this is the different type of the agent, but rather the actual leads to the customers. Here's the messaging. Keep remodeling estimates alive with smart follow-up that answer material questions and nudge homeowners to pick a start date, right? So pretty straightforward, can be easily personalized with the AI. The sixth one is the database reactivation agent. Reaches out to all leads in your list to restart conversation and reopen opportunities. All of these guys' things are connected to each other. That is why within the one prompt, right? So we have set everything up. So, all of the agents has been built on 50 to 70% depending on the use case, and you do the customization because the structure is pretty similar. So if you think about, like, even if you compare the actual follow-up agent and the database reactivation agent, it's literally pretty similar thing, but the difference is that the follow-up agent contacts, let's say, a few times after the lead, like with the prospect becomes the lead, or with the quote has been received or like sent by our agent, and the database reactivation is like it's contacting the same type of the leads, just in in a month or in 2 months or 3 months or in a year, depending on the business, okay, and trying to reactivate this lead. Same agent, having the same memory, having the same logic with a bit of a customization, just on a different automation scale. Okay, let's say Beanbox, Seattle startup, shipping created specialty coffee beans via monthly subscription. Even though I don't drink coffee for some reason, I think it's a pretty cool idea. Beanbox keeps thousands of plus subscribers. Almost 100,000. Okay, just agent. Like that's crazy. Okay, that's crazy. So the agent can look for accounts dormant 90 days, generate the personalized roast recommendations based on the past orders, and send the win back SMS sequences. It's like, again, so very tied down to the win back now, because it is pretty similar. But we are not working with our actual customers, but rather the leads. And the leads in the bin inbox could be the prospects that filled out the form or went through the personalized plan, because they have the personalized plan. So when you go through multiple sequences, right, you are actually having the, you need to input some details, like you need to input your number in the email to get the personalized recommendation and then buy. A lot of the people don't buy, but you can then try to reactivate them based on the information that they provided. And this is the messaging. Reignite, by the way, don't use it, please. I don't like this. Post coffee subscribers by texting a hand-picked roast and one-tap restart link, pouring recurring revenue back into your roast pipeline. Anyways, I don't really love this message, to be completely honest, because it is not income-oriented, and I don't think that like providing them hand-picked roast recommendations and stuff is gonna really kind of re-engage with them. We would need to work on the messaging and the actual service here, because okay, sure, like what, like you want to give them a personalized blog post, okay, it's like a content, it's personalized content marketing. Okay, so we need to have something more salesy, something more like offer a direct approach. The seventh one is the lead nurturing and education agent. Sends helpful information and answers questions to guide early stage leads towards a purchase. An example of the company is actually the nonprofit. So this is the animal shelter, open admission shelter in Golden, that rescues, cares, and rehomes cats and dogs. By the way, my wife is an animal advocate, and we always have stray kittens in our home, so kind of get the idea. So here's the service. Via the live chat widget on ways to donate, the agent answered questions about monthly gifts, in-kind wish list, vehicles, donations, and tax details, and then offers them tour booking and different things depending on what they answer and what they do. When it comes to the nonprofit, we worked with a few ones. People really wanted personal touch. But the thing is that depending on the company size, it's very hard to do, because they are tight on the margins and they cannot afford having a live chat like person 24/7. And as you can see here, tax details is also very important, which might not be super straightforward for the people that are not within the space, because if you're like donating something, you would maybe want to deduct it from the taxes, which is okay. This is the reality. So you would want to have like information to documentation, how everything works. So like all these questions can really make a difference if the customer, decides to actually buy it or not, right? That is why we can offer the actual agent that will be live on the website, that will fake a real human. And I don't think that faking is a bad thing, right? So we're not saying that I'm a human. We're not trying to lie directly. We're just creating the agent that is behaving like human, replying with multiple messages, receiving multiple messages, responding back from the knowledge base in a short, concise way. Don't use emojis and all these things, okay? So here's the messaging. Guide site visitors in chat to the right path or donation path in one conversation, listing adoption, recurring gifts without adding stuff. I found it pretty hard to sell in cold to the nonprofit organizations because these are guys that help others, right? So animals, people, and like they're not in sales usually. So from my experience, I'm like talking about my experience. And when you're like pitching something, they're like skeptical, and so it's better. So the guys that we worked with are actually came to me because of the content, and one of them was the referral. So yeah, you need to think about this. But if you have the direct reach, and if you know the business model, so if you know that they can afford that, that's a pretty good one. The 8th one is the appointment center agent. Okay, the most straightforward one. Handles calendar links, replies to secure confirmed meeting or product demo. Smile Dental Studio, clinic providing general cosmetic and implant dentistry services. The clinic offers multiple chat times and locations. The agent syncs with Dentatrix, detects open slots, negotiates time via HIPAA compliant language. Now, so this is, guys, I know that it triggered you. Like, this is not the new offer. This is what AI agencies being offering to clients for whatever, for as long as I can remember. But most of agents suck, and there's still so much room to get into this. But you need to be smart. You need to be smart on the messaging, and you need to be really smart on who you're working with. If you look at this website, what do you see? I see 4 call to actions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And I specifically chose these guys. It's going to be a hard sell. But if you'll be able to sell it, it's going to be the ideal client. It's going to be a hard sell because they know how important it is. This is, by the way, the chat. It's not the chat, so it's regular, some random chat, which is answered by the human within, a few minutes. So it means that if you're just using the appointment setter agent, your best bet would be to do it through the voice, because they don't have any, inbound voice AI agents, or through the smart forms, but not on the live chat, or to the SMS, or through the unified memory agent that could be built on the voiceflow N8N, and then the one prompt or the high level, and then they have the unified memory synced with their software. So what I'm saying is that if you see that the client is already utilizing some sort of different forms, different call to action, so he's aware that this is very important, you can make your messaging more clear. You do not need to show the value and say, we will increase your appointment rate booking by, 30%. It's random. It's random. They'll know that it's a bullshit. Okay. What you can do is you can replace missed calls with instant task scheduling that keeps your chairs booked. Okay, so you can use the features-based approach here and the messaging, because these are the clients that understand the value. They just need to know the mechanism. And if you say, hey, Jing, but if we're doing the outreach scale, how do we identify if the customer has this information or not? You can literally scrape the HTML and then, through the sequence of personalization things, and then ask AI to, based on the HTML data of the website, identify how many call to actions they have, if they have something on the top of the in the headers or in the announcement bar, and if they do, this will trigger a certain amount of actions that will create a different messaging. As I already said in the middle of the video, if this specific video will get 222 likes, I will create a separate video next week on the cold emailing and DMing using these offers. Okay, I'll go in depth. The 9th one is the lead qualification agent. Ask a few focused questions, confirm whether a prospect fit your ideal customer profile before routing them to a sales. Sunrise Solar System, Hudson Valley installer that designs and mounts residential commercial solar PV systems. They are very high ticket. They need to have a certain prospect to be interested in even talking to them, but because kind of the industry is hot, right? So they have a lot of people reaching out to them randomly, getting the quotes, and not that are not already qualified. So when a homeowner or the business owner clicks get a quote here, the agent can run a 5-question dialogue, a roof type, whatever, and over the chat or SMS score the leads, and then write results to the Salesforce, and then potentially reach out to them trying to, ask more questions. So it can be, you can use different ways to do that. So technically, if you're getting the quote, you can then, route the prospect to either the live chat right away, or to the SMS, or to the phone call with the voice AI, or you can really integrate a form that where like people will fill out the information, and based on this fill out information, the agent will send them the SMS. And I would say that you need to provide an actual option. How do you want to get contacted, through the phone call, through the SMS, or through the WhatsApp? And then, based on the choice, your agent will, based on this information, create a personalized script and goal for the reaching out to reach out to them. And you pair it up with this engagement agent that is sending the message first and trying to re-engage with the prospect, and you are good to go. Turn every online quote request into a qualified site visitor slotted on your rep's calendar, ending the back and forth on their route photos and utility bills. Again, so you would pair it up with the, for sure, engagement agent, as well as with the appointment setter, because if the prospect is qualified, there is no reason. Depending, yeah. So for these guys, it's pretty high tier projects. I would not say that you need to book an appointment. Maybe book an appointment, not even for the visit, but rather, just an appointment for the phone call, but obviously not a visit, because it's a pretty high end and high tier. The last one is the lead capture agent. Okay. So basically, this is the instant greeting new visitors and collects essential contact details across web, chat, phone, and SMS. Repacked studio, boutique fitness gym in Newport, offering rack-based 55-minute strength training classes. At one time, I was about to visit these guys when I was in the US. So because they have a try as free and they have a separate sequence of actions. So they already have a follow-up, right? They already have the actual automation that is sending the personalized, not personal, but the actual first message once this is clicked, okay? And then the human contacts them. What you can do, you can literally remove the human from this, and instead of having the just generic message that is getting sent after the user clicks this, you can go through a certain step sequence to make sure that the user understand the value, and then based on this information, saying that, hey, why you want to lose weight? Because my wife thinks that I'm ugly. Okay, something like that, and the agent will contact them and say, hey, John, I'm pretty sure you're not ugly, so we'll prove your wife that you can make it work. Please, I'm not sure. Is it the politically correct way of saying things here? Anyways, so please don't ban me, or don't, what does it say? So here's the messaging. Basically, you'd say, so here's the service racks try as free landing page already, etc. So the messaging to the business would be pretty straightforward. Automate every try as free inquiry into the book class. You don't even need anything else. You don't need this. This will do the job. If you have a pretty defined and unique CTA on the website, you can reference it all the time. Every time it's gonna work in your outreach messages, because try as free, this is not like sign up, this is not like demo call. So it is some sort of a unique angle, and people don't read emails, they scan emails. So if they say, try as free, if you're gonna mention this in your outreach, they'll scan the email and then they'll see that, okay, so it's personalized, this is something related to my business. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you like it. See you in the next one. Peace.